Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of flipping 5 mil into 1 bill. So in this episode, we are starting off with 65.7 million. That's the exact amount that we ended up on our last episode. So if you haven't seen my last episode, you can do so in the description down below. As always, on all my flipping episodes I post, I always ask you guys for suggestions. And on the last video, I got about 3 or 4 suggestions on items to flip, different category of items to flip. And one of them was Third Age. You will see the other suggestions later on in the video, but the first suggestion that I got was to flip Third Age items. And I'm going to be honest, straight away when I looked at that post, I was like, yeah, this is going to be complicated. One of the reasons why I knew it was going to be complicated is because of the amount of time it takes to buy these items. Third Age, I've done it in the past, it takes days to buy some of these items, especially like the higher end prices. But I decided that I'm going to give it a try because it was suggested, and if it works out, that would be amazing. So I tried to buy the Third Age range top, and the Third Age mage hat, and also the Third Age range coif. I gave it an hour, I went away for an hour, then I came back, and to my surprise, in just under an hour, and I was quite surprised it actually bought, just the Third Age range coif bought after 1 hour for 7 million, pretty much on the dot. With any item in Runescape, it's always really weird to get like a 5-6% flip margin, but as I've done Third Age before, I knew that with any item, you could always get at least 1 million. So I decided I was going to flip the range coif for 1 million, and it sold after about half an hour. So I made 1 million in literally minutes of effort, so I was quite happy about that. But after 1 hour and a half of my offers being in for the range top and also the mage hat, I decided that I'm going to give it a break. Give Third Age a break and move on into other items now, because I would end up wasting my whole day if my prices are wrong. So I decided I'm just going to move on into other items that were suggested, and I'll try other items out. But please don't kind of get down. I will flip Third Age items directly. I get maybe double or even triple the amount I have at the moment, and that might only be in about 6 or 7 more episodes. So in 6 or 7 episodes, you should see me flipping Third Age items, and that is something to look forward to. Okay, so the next suggestion I got was to flip ports items. And I thought that I'm going to have a couple items in on the side in case my port items don't work out either. Because these are items either I haven't flipped in ages, or I've tried to flip in the past and they just haven't worked out. For some weird reason, I just don't have any luck at all with flipping ports armors. But today, it kind of all changed around, so I was quite happy about that. So in case you don't know already, you can join Flip Chat 1. So that's Flip, no space at all, Chat, and number 1. And if you join that friends chat, they will give you prices for God Wars dungeon items, port items. So anything like that, their friends chat is great to use because they give you the margins. And stick with their high-end and low-end prices because you will get the highest profits with that. And also give everyone else a decent chance of pretty much making more profit on these items altogether. So with my port items and also my Armadillo boots here, I was literally seconds away from the Grand Exchange. Like directly I ran away, these items started to fill. So I was trying my hardest to kind of do other things at the same time today, but I just didn't have the chance because these items were coming in really fast. And funny enough, it kind of continued throughout the whole day. And in total, today's episode took me 3 hours to film. And in case you're wondering why it took so long, because 1 hour and a half with my Third Age, and when I say it took me 3 hours to film, it's how long I was waiting for offers to fill, which means that I must have spent about literally 20-30 minutes at least in the Grand Exchange, and the rest of the time I was either away from keyboard or doing something else. So half an hour to make this amount of profit today is pretty good, and if you can do that every single day, it's obviously something to kind of keep track on. So my port items, my God Wars dungeon items, they're all started to buy. And I'm going to be honest, today was a crap day to flip. I was literally making 150k, 200k profit each flip or so. And usually it's 300 or 400k on the port items. So even though I got really fast flips, I was making less profit, which means that if I would have had the same amount of flips in another day, I would have made so much more profit. But I was still happy I made really good flips. And as you just saw right now, my C-Singer's rope top literally sold in seconds, so that was pretty good. So like another 150k there, another 100 over there. So today's profits came in really fast. You might have noticed, but if you haven't noticed already, I'll mention it. I didn't flip every single port item. And the reason behind that is because some of the margins were just horrible. It was under 100k, and I knew that it's not worth fighting, with other people on a 100k flip, whilst you can make 100k elsewhere a lot easier. And I decided to expand on the suggestion of flipping port items, and I decided to move on eventually to scrimshaws. If you haven't watched my scrimshaw video, it's quite interesting also, but I decided that I'll move on into scrimshaws and see if you can make any profit around there. You will see that later on in the video, but I did flip scrimshaws also because it's an item I've never flipped before, and they've also risen in price. So I knew that eventually you could probably make a decent profit with the scrimshaws. So you will see that in a bit. Do also keep in mind that if you're copying me, and what I mean by that is if you are following the exact items I flip, because in some episodes I flip, dry gauze, and some people actually copy. Please keep in mind that if you flip dry gauze and it works out really well, stick with that item. Just because I flip third age or just because I flip port items doesn't mean you have to change also. If dry gauze is working out perfectly for you, stick with dry gauze until you make enough cash to move on. Because when I first started off this episode, I had a few actual people, going to kind of a personal race. I wasn't racing them, but they wanted a race to see who could get there sooner. And they would actually copy the items I was doing. And then eventually, I think they must have gone way ahead of me because they ended up saying, jump to higher items, because I'm guessing they got a lot higher than me. But what I mean is that if flipping God Wars dungeon item is really fast and you're making so much profit, stick with that. Don't change to any other item because you just complicate yourself. And sadly, you might even lose a bit of money if you start jumping items that you just don't know how to flip. So if you know how to flip an item and it works out really well, stick with that item. I'm not sure if you'll remember, about a week ago, I posted a video talking about the scrimshaws. And in that same video, I pretty much showed the prices, why they're worth using, why they aren't worth using. And I remember telling myself that in my next flipping series, I am going to flip the scrimshaws. And I just didn't get around to doing it. And in this episode, it kind of came back into me that, hey, I might as well do the scrimshaws. And that's why I'm doing them now. So I'm going to tell you a few reasons why they're worth flipping the scrimshaws. One of the good reasons about scrimshaws is that you can flip 5 every 4 hours. So on average, I noticed that you can make about 150k per scrimshaw to flip. So just say you lose 150k to find out the margin, then you flip another one, so you get that 150k back, so you haven't lost anything, but you flipped 2. That means now you have 3 more to flip, and you can make 150k each. So that's 450k profit you can make from flipping 1 set of your scrimshaws. And there is literally, I think it was 7 or 8 sets, which means you can make about 3-4 million or so from flipping all the scrimshaws. Later on, at the end of those 3 hours of making this video, I moved on into other items like the Virtus Wand, Virtus Robe Legs, Ponyx Cow, my Divine Spiritual never bought. But in the end, I ended up with an exact amount of 71.92 million, which means that in this episode, I made 6.2 million, which I'm actually really excited about because I must have only spent about half an hour in the Grand Exchange, and for me to make that much in just half an hour means that I'm eventually easily going to be on 10 million or so per hour, because I only spend about a minute or so each time I come back to the Grand Exchange, so that's really, really good. So thanks for watching this episode. If you have any questions or so, just post them below. If you want to suggest an item for me to flip, do that down below also. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.